video, we're going to talk about the cost of living in Indianapolis. And if you've heard that Indianapolis is one of the less expensive big cities to live in the country, you heard right. Now there's 5 reasons as to why that is, with number 1 being absolutely the biggest. But that number 1 reason is a little bit misleading if you take a look at the stats. So stick around to the end and I'll explain exactly why that is. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jason Compton. This is Living in Indianapolis. It's a channel where you can find out everything that there is to know about living in Indianapolis. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure to do so and also tap the bell so you're notified every single time I do a new video each week on Thursday. Okay, so like I said in this video, we're going to talk about the cost of living in Indianapolis. And I don't think it's a big secret, but the Midwest is a pretty affordable place to live in the country. In Indianapolis, it's a big city and an extremely affordable big city. So we're going to go through 5 reasons as to why that is. So it's probably not surprising that places like New York, San Francisco, Honolulu, those top the list as the most expensive places to live in the country. But Indianapolis ranks 48th in the United States. So that means there are 47 other cities in the country that are more expensive to live in. And some of them, of course, are marginal. It's not much more expensive, but it's pretty far down the list for a city that's so incredibly populated. So there's a couple of different tools that we can actually use to measure cost of living. And one, of course, is salary, using something simple like that. And if you compare Indianapolis to a place like Chicago, which is the closest really big city in the United States, if you earn $100,000 for your job here in Indianapolis, you're likely to earn for that same job in Chicago 5 to 10% more maybe, so about $108,000, let's say. But the cost of living in Chicago is roughly 22% higher. If you make $100,000 in Indianapolis, you're probably going to need to make about $122,000 in Chicago in order to afford the same style of living. Okay, so we can look at things like salary, of course, but there's another tool that's really easy to understand, and it's called the Cost of Living Index. Now, exactly how the numbers are put together for that is fairly complicated, but we can understand the Cost of Living Index as the United States is compared to Indianapolis. And usually what we do is we take the United States and we put it at 100. So we then compare cities to that 100. Indianapolis, as an example, is an 84. And what that means is that for every dollar you spend on average in the United States, you'll only have to spend 84 cents in Indianapolis. Or if you spend $100 in the United States, you'll only have to spend $84 in Indianapolis. So you can kind of see by using this tool how far your money can go in different categories. So we're going to go through the 5 reasons, like I said, as to why it's less expensive to live in Indianapolis, and they all have a little bit to do with this cost of living index. So number 5, the state income tax is a flat 3.23%. At least it is right now. So that's a pretty low state income tax. Now, if you compare it to other states with no income tax at all, well, our sales tax is quite a bit lower. That's how they make up for that in their state. So that means on average, you get to keep a little bit more of your income. And number 4, the property taxes here are extremely reasonable when you compare them to other parts of the country. So just as an example, if you've got a 3,500 square foot, 2-story home with maybe a 1,500 square foot basement or so, your property taxes here in Indiana, now depends a little bit on what county you're in, but Indianapolis is Marion County, and then we have surrounding counties around that, like Hendricks, Boone, Hamilton, Hancock, Johnson. They can all vary a little, but they're all pretty close to the same. But that 3,500 square foot home with the 1,500 square foot basement, your property taxes are probably going to be no more than $4,000 a year. And that's as long as you have all your property exemptions in place, but that's extremely reasonable. You compare that just to our next door neighbor, not just in Chicago, but the entire state of Illinois, your property taxes are probably going to be in the $10,000 range, maybe even a little bit more. Illinois has had the second highest property taxes in the country for years. So they're extremely reasonable in Indiana and the Indianapolis area. And number 3, we've got a combination of things here with groceries, utilities, and your health care. Now, healthcare, it is marginally cheaper here in the Midwest in Indianapolis, and that is an enormously complicated thing to actually get into the reasons why. But you can see here that as far as your out-of-pocket expenses, it ranks pretty close to the middle as far as the country. It's not the cheapest, of course, but it's not the most expensive that you're going to find in the country either. Now, groceries tend to be just a little bit cheaper in the Midwest in general, and of course here in Indianapolis, and that's due to logistical reasons and a lot of transportation and moving that food around, so it's a little bit cheaper here. Now, the utility costs, it depends on a number of things, because the size of your house. If you're renting, let's say, a tiny 400 square foot studio apartment versus maybe a 1,000 square foot condo or a 3,000 square foot home with 2 stories and a basement, all the way up to maybe 10 or 15,000 square feet, a gigantic house. It depends on the age of the house, the quality of the build, the windows, the insulation, a lot of different factors, including how cool you like to keep it in the summer and how much you actually heat it in the winter. So lots of factors, but a really, really good example for your own head and your own costs can run something like this. Let's say you got a 3,500 square foot, 2-story house with that basement. Your energy costs, so that's going to be your electric and your gas, it could run something like $230 a month, and that's on average. Of course, in the summer, you're not going to run your gas as much, and your electric might go up a little bit because your air conditioning. And then in the winter, if you've got gas heat, well, your gas is going to go up, but your electric probably is going to go down a little bit. So roughly about $230 a month, fluctuating a little bit. Your water, depending on how many people you've got in your house, it could go up or down. It might go up a little in the summer if you're watering your lawn. If you've got 4 or 5 people in the house, we have 5, so we have showers and baths and run the dishwasher quite a bit, so our water bill goes up a little. And then sewer usually is a standard rate per month, although in some places it can fluctuate. And then you're going to pay for trash service in a lot of cases, and that comes out to maybe $15 a month or so. But it can be a little bit more expensive than that, because a lot of times if you're part of a homeowners association, you'll have to pay dues to that homeowners association, and it can vary tremendously. So you can have some HOAs that are pretty much non-existent. They might be $50 a year at most. And then you can have some that are in the $600, $700, $800 range. So I've got $45 a month here in this one as an example of a neighborhood that has some tennis courts, a pool. So you're going to pay a little bit more with an HOA when you have amenities like that. If you're paying a huge HOA and you don't get things like that, then it might be a little expensive. But typically you're going to have that. And then with the trash, your neighborhood might have a deal worked out with a company and give you a discounted rate. If you don't have an HOA, that may not be the case, so you may pay a little bit more for that trash removal service. So number 2, transportation is marginally cheaper in Indianapolis and the Midwest in general. And there are several reasons for that, a lot of stuff that goes into it. But in Indianapolis generally, we do have public transit, but it's not phenomenal. You're not going to be able to get to every single part of the city from any part of the city that you want. So not fantastic. You're going to have your own car here almost in every single case. You could probably get by with just walking or a bike, but you're going to have to live very close to work, and your entire life is going to have to be really, really close to where you live. You can use Uber and Lyft and taxis, things like that too, but public transportation, not the best in Indianapolis. So as far as general transportation is concerned, you can make it as expensive as you want. You can get a super expensive car and pay high registration, license, and insurance. Your transportation costs are going to go up. But if you get a more sensible car, a cheaper car, maybe a used car, even in that sensible category, your insurance is going to go down, your registration is going to go down, and one that maybe doesn't use a whole lot of gas, well, your gas bill for the entire month is also going to go down. So your transportation costs, you have the opportunity to make them lower. Sometimes in a bigger city, you're really stuck. Even if you don't own your own vehicle, you're at the mercy of what the public transportation is going to cost you, and then also the way that they help to fund the public transportation is through taxes. So generally here in Indianapolis, we don't have incredibly high taxes to fund an enormous public transit system. So now we get to the number one reason why Indianapolis is one of the least expensive big cities to live in the country, and that is the housing. And I think that's probably not a secret, and that's for purchasing a home and also for renting a home. So exactly how cheap are the homes in Indianapolis? Well, if we take a look at the median price for Indianapolis, it falls pretty close to $160,000, $159,843. That's at least right now. That fluctuates a little bit as we go through an entire year. But I think that's just a little bit deceiving. Just like the median household income for Indianapolis. If you take a look at the median household income, it's close to $60,000 as well per year. And if you look at the entire country, a little over $63,000. But some of the surrounding areas in Indianapolis, some of the really popular areas to live in, like Carmel, Zionsville, Fishers, Avon, the median household income for those areas is much, much higher. So if we take a look at that with houses, and when we're comparing the other areas, at least some of them surrounding Indianapolis, to what we've got for the Indianapolis average, just as an example, we look at Avon over on the west side of Indianapolis, and the median home price there is actually $237,000 or close to $238,000. And then we go north up to Fishers, let's say, on the northeast side. And now we're getting close to $280,000. And then if we get into Carmel as an example, well, the median home price in Carmel, as of right now, is a little over $355,000. So while Indianapolis, the housing prices are the thing that makes it absolutely without question the main reason why it's not so expensive to live here, it can be a little deceiving. You can't just live anywhere you want in the Indianapolis area for pretty close to that median home price of $160,000. You will pay more in some of the areas that are more desirable. Carmel, Fishers, Avon, Greenwood, Zionsville, all of these suburbs are absolutely desirable areas for a number of reasons. And I've got another video that gets into exactly why that is for all of those suburbs. But even though the median home price in Indianapolis doesn't exactly match the median home price of some of these areas around Indianapolis, it's still not an incredibly expensive place to live. The amount of home that you actually get for those prices is pretty astounding. You can get a 4,000 square foot home in a number of different areas for sometimes less than $300,000. That's a lot of space for not a heck of a lot of money. And just like any place in the country, you can make your lifestyle as expensive as you want, and you can save in some other areas if you want to go that route as well. So Indianapolis, definitely not an incredibly expensive place to live in the United States when you compare to some of the other big cities. If you have any questions about something specific with regards to cost of living in Indianapolis, leave it in the comments below. Please do that and I'll get to it and try to answer your question as best I can. But thanks for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and I'll see you in the next video.